Gang, it's me. It's Steve Grumbine. Very happy to be with you. I like our new intro. Hopefully you all like it too. Took a little bit of effort, but our team really pulled it off. I really love that. I'm hoping that we'll be having a lot more cool stuff like that, way more advanced in the short term. So today is going to be a little bit of a winding road. Last few times I have taken the time to read very long articles trying to teach you things that I found interesting, things that I felt were pertinent. Today we're going to take a trip. I've got a little bit of a meme here. You might recognize that mug shot. And what we're trying to do is I'm going to try to go through some of the questions. You know, I had the blessing and the opportunity to be on with Jordan Chariton for Status Coup during his all-day marathon. And, it was kind of neat because on one hand, you had Matt Taibbi over there, and you also had Lee Camp, and there's Steve Grumbine. So it felt kind of good to be amongst, some really important, folks that are bringing you good information. All right. That said, there was a lot of chatter in that chat that, I felt like deserved a few minutes of our time before we got too far past it. And, a lot of these questions they're repetitive. And, we talked about modern monetary theory, and Jordan was extremely open to listening. And I was just incredibly impressed, not only with the quality of questions he asked, but the level of respect he gave. And the amount of import that he gave to the words that I was presenting. I felt like it was a really important moment because there's this guy, Jordan Chariton. I mean, we all know him. Jordan covered Standing Rock. Jordan covered the DNC. Jordan was at TYT. Jordan's been all over the place. And here's a guy that, has quite a following still with his new Status Coup, which is really a decent platform. I'm really excited to see what he's doing. Heck, I hope to be able to work with him in some ways down the road here with Real Progressives and providing him with some economic insights and so forth. But one of the things that was really important was there was a lot of folks that were just confused, and they misunderstood that, like, somehow or another I'm saying, hey, there's this great new thing called modern monetary theory. Hey man, someday maybe we can implement it. Hey, I'm forgetting about the petrodollar. And, there's all the normal stuff that you hear about. And so I thought, well, you know what? This keeps coming up and it won't go away. Thank you, Ron Paul. Thank you, Alex Jones. You guys have done a number on us. It's bled into the left. I don't know how to get rid of it other than a big case of antibiotics, because let's be fair, it's a friggin' infection. It's not, something grounded in truth. But how do you get rid of something that is so pervasive? And, let's be fair, the petrodollar never goes away. So with that, I'm going to drop my neat little promo here, and I'm going to bring up my friend Warren Mosler. And hopefully Warren will be able to take us to places where you have gotten to know him for the truth teller that he is. And hopefully this will shed a light on the petrodollar. I'm going to take a moment here and let Warren explain it.
I want to get to that, but first I want to ask you, can you briefly explain the petrodollar system to the viewers, and myself included? I'm not totally clear on this.
Well, it's probably a lot simpler than anybody realized. So if you sell oil and you get paid in dollars, you get your account credited either at the central bank, the Federal Reserve if you're a government, or at a commercial bank like Citibank or JP Morgan if you're a business. And that's it.
That's it. There you go. Well, that's good, because this kind of sets up like what the discussion I want to have with you right now. Some oil producing countries are hatching a plan to move away from pricing oil in dollars. And in fact, Gulf Arabs, along with China, Russia, Japan, and France, are planning to end dollar dealings for oil, instead moving to a basket of currencies, which includes the Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, euro, gold, and a unified currency planned for nations in the Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and Qatar. So could this pose a material threat to the current petrodollar system?
No, it's entirely inconsequential. It's just a numeraire. I mean, they could set the price in paper clips. It doesn't matter. You transact and then you exchange that for whatever currency you want, either in advance at the time or whenever you want it. So what matters is the currency that people saving, not the currency they transact in. What you transact in is of absolutely no consequence.
You know, the Saudis, they're increasing oil production, which is good for the consumer over the short term because prices drop. But over the long term, is there the possibility of the Saudis putting the shale oil people out of business and actually driving up prices?
Okay, so the Saudis don't actually cut out, but what they do is they set price, and then they let output adjust at that price. You can buy all you want from the Saudis at their price. So they are the price setter. They're the only ones with excess capacity, which automatically makes them swing producer and price setter. As long as the demand for their oil falls somewhere in between what they can produce and the minimum they want to produce. And so not too long ago, a few weeks, they actually announced a price cut. And sure enough, the price of oil fell along with their price cut. And they do it a little more subtly. They set the spread between their grade and a benchmark grade. And then by setting it a little narrow, it causes prices to gravitate a little bit lower. And by setting it a little wide, it causes it to go higher. But they're basically setting price and letting quantity adjust. Now, if they decide to set price lower, it will go lower. If they go to $75, they're going to put a lot of oil producers out of business. And like I said, could be $1 trillion or more dollars of investment lost. And that investment will never come back. And that will allow the Saudis to then set any price they want, maybe 150 if they want to, because they won't be worried about that investment coming back. It's too risky because the investors know anytime the Saudis want to lower the price, they're just going to lose everything.
Warren, for how long can the Saudis do this? Can they do this for years indefinitely? How long can this go on?
It goes on until, on the upside, until the demand is higher than what they can produce, in which case then the price goes up and they can't stop it. Or on the downside, if they cut production to where they can't cut anymore and there's still not enough demand, then they lose control on the downside. But as long as it stays in their sweet spot, which is probably between 5 and 10, well, maybe 6 or 7 and 10 million barrels a day of production, they set price.
And I mean, this would definitely hurt the shale oil producers, I would imagine, no?
Yes, if they let the price go that low, it'll just put them all out of business.
And that would definitely, you say that would put every shale oil producer out of business?
It might. I think their costs are $70 plus. So if suddenly the world price is 75 and they're only going to get 65 for their oil, they're either just going to lose money forever or shut down.
Right. Wow. That's fascinating. Now, you mentioned before that it doesn't matter what you set the price of oil, and I think a lot of people would beg to differ on that account. You know, the U.S. government would not be pleased if Saudi oil was not trading in U.S. dollars and being bought and sold, correct?
They might be, but, you know, if you go to buy a car and somebody says, I'm only going to sell it to you for euros, you just look at the exchange rate, you sell your dollars for euros and you buy it. I mean, they could tell you it's going to be priced in anything. You really don't care. You just ultimately want to know how many dollars you have to pay. And so the United States government should not care. Now, that doesn't mean they won't care. I haven't had this conversation with them, and they may not understand it correctly.
Right. There you go. Now, I want to ask you, the U.S. has relied extensively on the Federal Reserve in order to propel this whole recovery that we're going through at the moment. But with interest rates at zero and the Fed relying on unconventional policy, how does monetary policy get into the real economy that you and I live in?
I got to tell you.
What I mean is, what's the transmission mechanism from the Fed?
I'm sure she's a really sweet lady.
Getting a job or making higher salaries.
You know, it's very hard for me sometimes to hear some of the questions because I feel like after a while, you're like, wow, man, we have really been screwed here, haven't we? We haven't been given a shot at knowing what the hell's going on. But let me boil down what Warren tried to say, what Warren said, and what Warren tried to say. Yeah. I'm going to try and say it in regular people speak, okay? So what Warren is saying is that the petrodollar is merely what they call a numeraire. In other words, it's just the accounting measure. It's just the number that they're putting out there. It has no bearing on the value of our dollar. But yet you hear many of our friends talk about the petrodollar like it's some second coming of the Christ child. And no matter how much you shake Alex Jones out of these people's heads, no matter how much you savate kick Ron Paul out of their mouth, they're going to keep bringing it back. They're going to keep bringing it back. And you try to remind them, damn it, you're a lefty. And they still can't get rid of Ron Paul. Ron Paul is on their shoulder like a little elf on the shelf, and they won't let him go. So the bottom line is that there is no such thing as a petrodollar. It just means they price gas in US dollars, nothing more than that. Okay. And Warren said the real concern, and this is a guy who is a he's owned banks. He has millions. This guy knows what he's talking about. He is the father of modern monetary theory. This guy is not your peer. We're not hanging out and having beers, although Warren is more than happy to do that sort of thing. The fact is that he's telling you straight up. I'm telling you straight up. We've all been telling you straight up. There is no such thing as the petrodollar in terms of it holding some mysterious value of our currency, period, full stop. All right. So what is interesting to note, and this is very, very important to note, is that everything that we do in this country, everything we do around the world depends right now, today, on petro products, whether it be grease in our gears in our nuclear plants, whether it be plastics, whether it be the gas we use in our cars, whether it be the way we heat our homes, whatever it is, petro products are everywhere. Everywhere. The roads, the asphalt, everything, all made with different grades of oil products. So if they somehow or another was a shortage in oil, we would have a massive shock around the world. It wouldn't just be some US phenomenon. Okay, so it's not a matter of a petrodollar. It's a matter of a real constraint, a real resource. As you've heard MMT folks talk about nonstop, we're constrained by the real resources. All right, that was a big one. It kept coming up. There was a guy who just wouldn't let it go. It's like, man, let that piece of meat go, brother. It is stale and stanky and got all kinds of botulism on it. Let that piece of meat go. It isn't doing you no favors. All right. Now, obviously, the other one, the favorite one, is the Federal Reserve. All right. So I've talked about this so many times, but it's always worth bringing up because it's going to keep coming up, because no matter how many times you want to bring it up, they're going to keep coming back with it. And the fact is that the Federal Reserve System is part private, part government, part federal. The Federal Reserve is not something that came to the United States and took us over by force. Congress created it in 1913. All right. Their charter has been changed many times. Okay. And not by the Federal Reserve. It's been changed by Congress. Okay. You understand this. Congress has control over the banking system, although they don't wield it. Congress continues to deregulate because that's what neoliberals do. Neoliberals do what a neoliberal is going to do. And they've been doing the do for a long, long time. The final sticking point was under Brother Bill when they removed Glass-Steagall. Now you even see him trying to screw around with Dodd-Frank. Folks, I'm telling you right now, please know this. You've got public banking right now. You just don't realize it. The problem is that we've deregulated the hell out of it to the point where instead of being nerds with visors and birth control glasses, these guys are driving around in freaking Maseratis, and they got, fat stacks of bills, and they're just running around. If you remember The Big Short, these guys are just throwing bills at people, man. They're just living at large. All right. That's not how banking was ever intended to be. That's not how banking should be. Banking should be reformed. Banking should be regulated. And as Warren Mosler would have said, if we would have kept going, he'd say banks should just do this, nothing more, nothing less. But instead, we've allowed them to become a whole new part of our economy. The financialization of our entire country has long since been underway, and we've seen it steadily exacerbate wealth inequality in America since the mid-'70s, and right on through Ronnie Reagan, and Brother Bill went on steroids too. So we need to be real careful in understanding that we already have public banking. The same people that you want to create public banks are the same assholes that decided to deregulate it. And this is a real problem, isn't it, folks? I mean, yes, you can have state and local banks, and I support the hell out of it. It's a great idea. But I want you to understand the reason why your banking system's FUBAR is not because of some private banksters. It's because your Congress has been captured. Your Congress is behaving like corporatists, like stooges, like frigging disgustos, man, wastes, criminals. Okay, we've got a kleptocracy going on. And that's what you got here. So the idea of public banking, to me, is a little bit of a misnomer. We already have it. We didn't do anything right with it. We screwed it up. And the only way to fix that is to go back in there and regulate the hell out of the banks. Get us back to public banking, baby. Make banking frigging very, very unsexy, as Ellis would say. All right. Now, one of the other things that came up, of course, is the value of my dollar, right? You know, the gold people, the people that like gold, they love gold, man. They want to chew on it. They want to sniff it. They want to go to bed with it. They want to hold it in their hand. They want to look at it. But gold is not currency. Gold is a commodity. And so we backed our dollar with gold. Well, guess what? When we ran out of gold, we were done. That was it. The only way that we could expand our economy was to devalue the dollar. You hear all, well, you're devaluing my dollar, man. Well, when you have a growing economy, you have to have more money in it to grow, right? You have to grow with your economy. Gold, first of all, you're constrained by gold. Second of all, you've got to have enough gold in hand to be able to do whatever it is you want your economy to do, which means you've got to dig it out of the ground. This is the most stupid thing on the face of the earth. Stupider. I mean, it's like freaking so stupid. I mean, I could think of a million funny lines here, but I'm just going to leave it at it's just full metal stupid. All right. It is the ultimate constraint on your economy. It is absolutely moronic. All right. Now, if you want to invest in gold and you want to keep gold in your closet and you want to hang out with it and take pictures of it and make your teeth gold, whatever, knock yourself out. I'm not here to judge you. Hey, different strokes for different folks. But leave the currency alone. The reason why we won, if you want to call it won, World War II, was because we got rid of the gold standard so that we could expand. All right. Now, just like anything, can it be abused? Absolutely. A hammer in the hand of a murderer is a hell of a lot different than the hammer in the hand of a carpenter. All right. So we need to be very careful when we try to limit our ability to do great things. Your fear of somebody doing something bad with something should not outweigh your knowledge of what good can come from using it as well. Okay. It's very important to understand that a hammer is not intrinsically bad. Most of our homes were built with hammers. But a hand in the hand of Ted Bundy is a murder weapon. Get it straight. Think about it. Stop trying to put the clamps on a fiat currency just because you don't understand it. Simple. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, I want to talk again here momentarily, bring my other picture back up here. I hope you all understand that, the 2016 election was a real, piece of shit, man. It really kind of screwed us all up. And you look back and you think about all the nonsense that occurred during the 2016 election, 2015 primaries. I remember, do you all remember that guy, Casey Champagne or whatever, the dude that was putting kiddie porn up in the Bernie groups and getting the group shut down and them bragging about it? I mean, these Brock trolls were running around trying to just destroy. They were smearing people. They were doing everything they possibly could. And all of us Berners, all we were really trying to do was say, hey, we don't want war anymore. We're done with war. We're sick of war. Hey, we want to expand Social Security, man. We're tired of freaking no cost of living increases. We're tired of all these clamp down things. We want a real legitimate, New Deal. We want to see free college. We want to see Medicare for all. We want to see expanded Social Security and federal, paid family and medical leave. We want to see these things. Why the hell wouldn't we want to see these things? Okay. So what happens with the old Brock boy? David Brock, of course, because he's David Brock, decides that he is going to go ahead and pen a little thing that we all got to see here recently. I'm going to put it up here on the screen so you can read along with me, just so you don't think I'm making anything up, because I'm sure there's going to be some hillbot out there that truly doesn't understand. But David Brock, being the piece of crap that he is, went ahead and took a few shots, and more than a few shots. And what he's trying to do right up front, let's be fair, he's trying to tell progressives, shut up, stay out of our way. We want our neoliberals and we want them unblemished. Stop doing Trump's work for them, okay? So the headline reads, David Brock, Bernie Sanders fans can't be allowed to poison another Democratic primary with personal attacks, bashing Beto O'Rourke and every other Democrat that doesn't help liberals' cause in 2020. It only helps Trump. And there's a picture of Bernie and trying to make him look like an asshole. And so here's David. He goes, I'm hardly the only political observer who blames Hillary Clinton's general election defeat to Donald Trump in part on personal attacks on Clinton, first made by Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont. They got him as sheep herder in chief over there trying to bring people in the Democratic Party. But here's old douchebag Brock saying independent from Vermont, just to put that little extra, exclamation point there to make sure that that he's not a quote unquote real Democrat. And his backers, those attacks from her left, laid the groundwork for copycat attacks lobbed by Donald Trump, and in the process helped hand the Supreme Court to the right wing for a generation. Don't believe me? Ask yourself who said what. And then he goes on this trip through the thing here, and you're going to listen to this and you're going to laugh because I would like to believe we all still believe this stuff. I know the guys at Goldman Sachs, they have total control over him, just like they have total control over Hillary Clinton. I don't think you're qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC. Do I have a problem with sitting Secretary of State and a foundation run by her husband collects many dollars from foreign governments who are dictatorships? Yeah, I do have a problem with it. Yeah, I do. What the hell's wrong with this? Why in the world wouldn't we say this? Well, I mean, folks, seriously, look, hold on. Let's stop for a second. Why wouldn't we say this? I mean, does it not make sense that we would say this? To me, it's like preposterous that we would not say this. But there they are. They're trying to make this part of their little swipe at us, because that's what they do. That's exactly what these parasites do. And so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can somehow or another keep this thing up on the screen so you guys can see along with me here. So then he goes, the Clintons have spent decades as insiders lining their own pockets and taking care of donors instead of the American people. It's now clear that the Clinton Foundation is the most corrupt enterprise in political history. Hello, it is. I think super predators was a terrible thing to say. It was. Because super predators was a racist term and everybody knew it was a racist term. Yep, it is, still is, was then, is now. What the hell? And then he comes in, the answers are Trump said the first thing, Sanders, Trump, Sanders. I mean, this is Brock, man. This is who this twit is. Now, I don't know what you guys think about something like that. But for me, I look at that and I say, this guy's a son of a bitch. What a piece of shit. What a piece of garbage excrement. So let's go back to this again. So the next part of this, he says, and now through the 2018 Democratic presidential primary has only just begun, those same long knives. He calls us long knives. Now, if you all know what long knives are, let's go into this for a minute. Night of the Long Knives was one of the big deals during the rise of Adolf Hitler. Okay, so there's some play on words here. This is not too sneakerative. David Brock is pulling out old Godwin, and he's not even apologetic because the guy's a real piece of shit. But he goes, and now through the 2018 Democratic presidential primary has only just begun, those same long knives, mostly courtesy of supporters of Sanders' prospective candidacy, are out for outgoing Rep. Beto O'Rourke, Democrat, Texas, charging he's not a true progressive. Let's stop right there. Beto O'Rourke had to purge himself from the no gas money pledge. The guy's on the take for the oil companies, period. Full stop. I mean, this is not disputable. It's not disputable at all. And then on top of that, when they ask the man, hey, Beto, yo, Yo, Kemosabe, brother, man, hey, hook us up. Are you a progressive? He's like, oh, I don't want to be called progressive. I don't. Please don't ask me if I'm a progressive. So, Beto, you did this to yourself. If you're a progressive, you'd have gone, hell yeah, I'm a progressive. But you're not a progressive. You're not. And the good news is your voting record is really, really looking like Manchin in West Virginia. Nothing progressive about it, brother. Nothing progressive about it. You got a winning smile. I bet you got a hell of a forehand in tennis. I bet you can do a nice pitching wedge from within 36 yards. But let me tell you something. You are not a progressive, and don't even fake like you are, and stop trying to make us think that you are. Okay? So let's go back to old Brockenstein here. So Brock says, and now through the, the reason for these preemptive attacks, which has the markings of a coordinated effort, this is correct, the record saying coordinated effort, in a spate of news and opinion articles and variety of publications, he's got them pointed out. It's obvious enough after losing Texas Senate race to incumbent Ted Cruz, O'Rourke nonetheless has shot to the top in the Democratic primary polls since Election Day, overshadowing both Sanders and another left-wing favorite, Senator Elizabeth Warren. In politics, you shoot up, not down. So Bernie Kratz seemed determined to dust off the same destructive playbook this time around, even though the attacks against O'Rourke are flimsy and misleading. I love it when they say this. O'Rourke unseated a conservative Democrat in the primary and never tacked right on an election in deep red Texas. He has run in favor of federal legislation legalizing marijuana and the impeachment of President Trump, as if that's really, really the bar. Folks, every vote blue sycophant I know wants to impeach Donald Trump. They're not talking about a Green New Deal, and this man is not for a Green New Deal at all. Not at all. Okay, let's be clear. This is not his game. He is not into progressive politics. He's a nickel and dimer, and he's a status quo right-wing neoliberal. Don't let anybody tell you differently. So he's run in favor of federal legislation legalizing marijuana and the impeachment of President Trump. And although he fails the litmus test on free college tuition, fancy that, because the dipshit doesn't understand economics. Okay, he's another one of these neoliberal, oh God, disgusting. All right. Doesn't want free college, and their claims that his support for Medicare for all are weak don't match his record. As a candidate, he said he would vote for it. He's not out there talking. He's not out there advancing it. He's in wait and see mode. We smelled that bird back when Hillary was doing it. Remember, she always waited until 20 minutes after the fight was already won before she took a policy position. She had her private policy and her public stance. Don't buy this crap, okay? So Bernie supporters have made questionable claims about contributions to O'Rourke from oil and gas industry. I've already hit him with that, okay? O'Rourke had to give up the pledge. That's fact, okay? As well as support for certain Republican-sponsored House bills. But neglect to mention that the oil and gas money came mostly from low-level industry employees. Hundreds or thousands of Texans are employed by the industry, and that O'Rourke broke ranks with his party less than the average Democrat. Folks, his voting record is there for you to see. It's written up in The Intercept. Very, very good article. They show flat out how Beto ran just practically exact as Manchin from West Virginia. And Manchin is a Republican. Let's be fair. He's got a D next to his name, but he's out there tooting, Trump. He is not your guy, and O'Rourke is not your progressive. Trust me. So the real problem for Sanders supporters seems to be that this Kennedy-esque golden boy, as one derided O'Rourke, seems perfectly poised to steal Sanders' thunder among millennials and white liberals with his fresh energy and personal charisma. You notice he didn't say his policy platform, the things he's fighting for, the direction that he's pushing the country, and nothing. He's talking about his good looks, his charming Kennedy-esque appearance, his winning smile. What next? He's going to talk about his polo shirt being, double collars flipped up, and maybe his members only jacket. I don't know. Thus, it's not enough to disagree with O'Rourke. What did he give you anything to talk about agreeing with there? He didn't give you anything to disagree or agree with. He just flat out said point blank, he's got a winning smile and Kennedy-esque golden boy. They're not telling you anything he stands for. Okay. His persona and reputation must be dragged through the mud. Well, he's a neoliberal, and we're looking for better. We're looking for people. Hey, look, you want to bounce your kid on your knee? I'm not going to stop you. But please don't try and stifle my life with neoliberalism. Capiche? Is that cool? Can we agree to disagree there? I want somebody who actually wants to serve the people, not somebody who wants to be a trillionaire's kid or marry into a trillionaire's family and sit there on the sidelines of plutocracy. These are the things that Brockster doesn't bring up. So Democrats should greet this early maneuver by Sanders supporters with alarm. With alarm. If Democrats can't show such tactics, which will be used against any non-Sanders candidate, because no one can get to the left of a socialist for what they are, they ignore them at their own peril. Okay. So I'm pretty sure Jill Stein and the Green Party would say that they're left of Bernie-crats. So you realize that the only choice Brockster's giving you is center right. They're calling that the left. That's your left, folks. Center right, tacking center right on the frigging spectrum. Anyway, failing to end this internecine warfare will mean that all members of the Democratic Party running for its presidential nomination will face months of minuscule ideological litmus tests turned into character assassinations. I consider healthcare to be a little bit more than minuscule. I consider student debt relief a heck of a lot more than minuscule. At $1.5 trillion, there's a lot riding on it. This is Brockster at his best. And you know what? Vote Blue sycophants will go, David Brock is so right. Those Bernie bros, those Bernie bros are so bad. Anyway, the narrative driven by the far left and lapped up by the press, the far left, God, I love these people, will likely result in a nomination fight that could well devolve into the kind of pointless factionalism that will only help Republicans. Now, what happens when the Democrat is a Republican in and of themselves? What happens when they're a compassionate conservative, right? What happens when they're really W with a D next to their name? I mean, let's be fair. I'm so disgusted by this Brock guy. Of all the people, let's get this guy off the air, man. Let's do whatever we can to end his career. I am sick to death of David Brock. Anyway, we've seen this movie before, Sanders' assault on Clinton's progressive credentials. What progressive credentials did Clinton have? Were pernicious in large part because they were not about policy disputes at all. For God's sake, they were exactly about policy disputes. Clinton was always dinking and dunking around the edges. She was always hedging her bets. There was no bold agenda. There was nothing of value coming out of the woman, nothing coming out of her campaign at all, except for, I'm a woman. Vote for me. I'm a woman. Vote for me because I'm a woman, because I'm a woman, because I'm a woman. Everybody's a misogynist. Everybody is this. Everybody is that. And it was like, you're a bro if you don't want Hillary. Oh, my God, you must be a Trumper. Oh, my God. This is the shutdown bullshit that these people pulled. I'll never forgive them, ever. I mean, ever. So the atmosphere online was even more toxic. Pro-Bernie message boards lit up with a montage of Hillary hate. Here, Hillary was a corporate whore, a likely criminal in the email case, and the cheating mastermind of a rigged primary. Folks, the primary was rigged for Hillary, period, full stop. We know this now. It's not even debatable. What is Brock doing? I mean, really, now they're already starting to look into her emails again. I mean, I don't care about this stuff right now. What I care about is Brock acting like he's so, oh my God, the Bernie bros actually wanted a progressive and they demanded it and they fought to the death over it. And they were really upset that their donations got taken while Hillary went ahead and screwed the country and gave us Trump. All right. So anyway, no wonder Lock Her Up later became so resonant. Listen to this. This is the bullshit they're putting on progressives. I want you to hear this. This is your vote blue sycophant. This is the vote blue mantra that the true blue, You guys aren't real Democrats. You guys, we don't even like you. We don't need you progressives. You go away. We don't need you. Oh, but when you voted, you didn't vote for Hillary, so you cost us the election. We don't need you. Go away. Remember this? I do. I remember it like it was yesterday. So in 2016, I ran a pro-Hillary super PAC, you don't say, which attempted to defend the candidate against false attacks. Horseshit, dude. You were the false attacker of the century. You were a liar, a gaslighter, and a son of a bitch, a propagandist of epic proportion. Many of which came from or originated to her left. They were hardly in charge of our messaging. It was made very clear to us by our allies at her campaign headquarters that any efforts on our part to push back against the left wing of anti-Clinton brigades were unwelcome assistance. They feared alienating Sanders voters. Folks, from day one, they alienated us. I have tons of screenshots. I save that shit, okay? They're not going to rewrite history. I was there. I know what it was all about. Hell with that. Absolutely not. That head in the sand posture was ultimately self-defeating. They were such, such martyrs, man. They just took it on the chin. They didn't do anything. Do you all remember the red baiting these bastards did? Trying to pull out the Russia shit, calling the socialist stuff. I mean, seriously. All right. Today, Democrats are rightly laser focused on picking a winner in 2020. And the stakes are just too high to let bad faith actors whose real aim is to smear Democrats as no different than Republicans. See this? They're trying already to preemptively say that if you point out that they're neoliberal, if you point out that they're looking for Wall Street solutions, if you point out that they're not really giving you health care for all, they're not really actually giving you the things we demand. If you don't see this, then you are naturally the bad guy here. Just so you know, this is the setup. This is the preemptive strike. It is what? January 6, 2019. So keep in mind, this is David Brock. So he says, today, Democrats are rightly laser focused on picking a winner in 2020, and the stakes are just too high to let bad faith actors whose real aim is to smear Democrats as no different than Republicans stage inter-party schisms. If Sanders decides to run again this time, he should focus on policy and eschew character attacks on Democrats. Guys, Bernie's platform, I still remember it. Let me tell you, Bernie's platform had $33 trillion in new spending. He was offering up $19 trillion in new taxes. How do I know this going back to 2015? Because it was that important to me to know it. I knew every bit of his policy platform, from criminal justice reform to friggin' ending the drug war on marijuana to, on and on and on. Paid family and medical leave, free college, tuition-free college. I mean, the list of things that they were trying to do was epic. Medicare for all, you name it. That's what he talked about. Everywhere you went, you had those little cards, the little index cards, the little business cards that had his policy proposals on it. That's what we were interested in. The smear that they're trying to do is so perverse, so criminal. Let's be fair, because people die when neoliberals do these things. They dumb your expectations down. They dumb your desires down. They make you feel guilty for telling the truth. And then they come in with these shitty, watered-down Republican-like proposals like the ACA, which was Mitt Romney's plan for health care. The Heritage Foundation wrote those things, courtesy of the Democrats. Thank you very much. So he says, if Sanders decides to run again this time, he should focus on policy and eschew character attacks on Democrats and admonish his supporters. You guys don't do this. Admonish his supporters to do the same. Otherwise, they put the core values we all share at risk again. Because after all, we're the problem, right? We're the problem. Folks, it's pathetic. So with that in mind, we got a Green New Deal coming up. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is pushing this thing hard. She was just on 60 Minutes. She's got Stephanie Kelton in her ear helping her understand how to promote the message. Is it the perfect 100% lock and load MMT message that we would all like it to be? You know what? Unfortunately, she's dealing with a lot of people out there who still think that we've got to balance the budget, who still think that we've got to pay as we go. Remember, only 3 people voted against pay-go. 3. Okay. So she's got a tough hill to climb. So she didn't want to pay for a Green New Deal with taxes, but she raised the point of 70% taxes, and she talked about the possibility of having to raise taxes. And I think it's instructive to understand, first of all, messaging and understanding that Stephanie's got her hand in this. But number 2, it's important to understand that part of our problem with the environment, part of the reason why we need a Green New Deal, is because there's outsized environmental pollution and destruction going on by the uber wealthy, by these global corporations, the military industrial complex, you name it. But the uber wealthy have an outsized carbon footprint, being able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, with all the resources at their command, without a flinch. So when they talk about a tax increase, remember, taxes are either Pigovian, which are sin tax. In other words, they're de-incentivizing a behavior. They're for income inequality. They're to keep track of or assess the costs of a program. It's not necessary to pay for it, but it's to track what it would technically cost. And then the other thing, and this is, in my opinion, important to understand also, is to keep the value of the dollar strong. They want to keep inflation down. Okay. So one of the things that I told you guys about is the Green New Deal is going to max us out. It's going to put us over full employment. We're going to need workers coming in from the fire sector, finance, insurance, real estate. There's going to be immigrants that we're going to need to find jobs for, because to do a World War II level Marshall Plan kind of resource marshaling is going to require an effort akin to what we did in World War II. All right. So naturally, if the economy is at peak performance, supercharged with full employment, what do we have to do in World War II? Think about this for a minute. World War II, we sold Liberty bonds, war bonds, right? What did we do with those war bonds? Did we use them to fund the war? Chula, what? No, we didn't. We used them to take money out of the economy, to slow it down, to defer purchasing power. By buying war bonds, people voluntarily elected to delay purchases. By buying bonds, it took money out of the economy, and it took the edge off an overheating economy. So what happens when you're at full employment? We talk about it in MMT all the time. The real resource constraints of full employment are where inflation can begin. So now all of a sudden we're at full employment. So what do we do with that now? How do you control inflation? You raise taxes, right? That's what you do. There's a host of different things that we can do to ensure that we don't have really bad inflation, which is not a real concern because we can do a host of different things. But one of the key things to not only stop environmental destruction is to limit the carbon footprint of those with too much access to resource, but also to slow the economy down by diminishing some buying power at the top. Makes perfect sense. That's the kind of messaging that we need to have for taxing, because we are not paying for anything. The taxes do not pay for those programs. That's a fact. That's not debatable. That's not, well, maybe, in some circumstances. No, it's not debatable. It's done. That's it. Finito. That's it. So what do we do here? we got to be understanding here as we go into this thing. You look at the crazy misdirections of these Brocksters. You look at the crazy misdirections of all the freaking people all out there that are bitching and moaning because they don't like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because she's 29, because she's dancing on the rooftops, whatever. Okay. Maybe she didn't say thank you, to somebody, or maybe they didn't like the fact that she was cooking pasta while she was talking about politics. Who knows? Whatever it is, people like the winning smile, the Kennedy-esque smile of Beto and all this bullshit. Folks, when it comes to politics, people were like, oh, Bill Clinton, he's dreamy. He's dreamy. They didn't say, I like Bill Clinton's policies. Bill Clinton's policies were, hey, let's go ahead and destroy welfare. Let's go ahead and kick a bunch of single moms off of welfare. Let's go ahead and give away a bunch of stuff to Wall Street. Sandy, here's the pen I signed to basically give over Glass-Steagall. I mean, what was there to love about that? Hey, we're going to reinvent government. We're going to make it leaner and meaner, and we're going to be just like Republicans. We're going to be third-way neoliberal New Democrat Republicans. Call a spade. Sorry. Sorry, David, Brock. You want to be a Democrat, a real Democrat, you want to be a progressive, you've got to act like a progressive. And that means you got to care about people, dude. It means you got to care about the environment. It means you got to not be a loser. Sorry. Just call a spade. I can't give you any air cover, David, because you're a jackass. And that's just the facts. That's the facts. So anyway, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going around pushing this Green New Deal, and it's got everyone's attention all over the place. This is real policy, folks. And we've got 2 years really before the 2020 election comes up. I mean, it's already happening. You're going to have a host of people coming out. Well, we've got this Green New Deal being advanced right here, right now. You talk about a full-blown policy prescription. Well, this has got Bernie Sanders' handprints all over it as well. This has got Sanders Institute's fingerprints all over it. This has got MMT all over it. This has got Stephanie Kelton all over it. There is a huge push. Now, I don't know if you looked. You want to get into identity politics for a minute? Do a stop frame on those kids of the Sunrise Movement and look and see how diverse that community is. We've got white, black, brown, tan, yellow, green. I mean, the whole gang is there, man. The full spectrum from Green Party to Democratic Party, gay, straight, young, old. We had tons of people, folks. Tons and tons of people. Different people. Not just white bros. Sorry. Folks, being a progressive is a tough gig. You're always getting the shit kicked out of you. You're always being tried to tone it down. You're always being told to moderate your expectations. You're always being told to just wait for that. We'll get to that some other day. It's something more important. We got to beat Trump today. Your needs to have a planet to live on are not as important as us beating Trump. We got to impeach Trump. We got to do this. We got to do that. Getting rid of 1.5 trillion in student debt, you're just going to have to wait on that. And that, my friends, is policy. That's not a personal character assassination. But not understanding the implications of that, that's a serious business. And when you're so out of touch and you're so out of touch with the people that you suddenly think that people really don't want free college, well, you really aren't fit to serve. If you think that the government is broke, you aren't fit to serve in Congress. Your job is to control the purse strings if you're in Congress. If you believe the Congress is not able to do great things, you don't have a right to be a congressperson, in my opinion. So Nancy Pelosi gave a eulogy for Pete Peterson. Now, folks, you probably don't know who Pete Peterson is. The Pete G. Peterson Foundation is the foundation that champions austerity. They are the true Austerians, and Nancy Pelosi is one of the gang. It's a nonpartisan group, folks. David Brock doesn't like us saying people are just like Republicans. Well, look at the Pete Peterson Foundation. These guys are balanced budgets. They're reducing deficits. They're screaming and crying about the national debt. These fools are crazy. Well, Pete Peterson died. He's an old man. He died a while back, but his foundation lives on, and the murderous policies that he's pushed forward continue to creep into the public space. Nancy Pelosi is a champion of those policies. A champion. And Nancy Pelosi is a Brock kind of gal. So let's be real clear here. All right. Progressives of all stripes, real progressives, are going to have a bullseye on them. If they squeak and squawk about the policies they want, they're going to be labeled whiny. They're going to be labeled Trumpers. They're going to be labeled something other than principled or real progressive. They're going to be, they're litmus tests. They're going to push us so far to the left we can't win. No, you're going to stay so far to the right you can't win, because you can't win without the left. I mean, that's the deal. That's the deal. And, I'm not going to apologize. And don't you apologize either. There's no reason to apologize. So I want to show you something. This I found was really cool. This right here, it was part of the, Anderson Cooper, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez interview. He's like, well, how are you going to pay for all of this? She's like, nobody is asking how we're going to pay for Space Force, right? Nobody's asking how they're going to pay for Space Force. I think to myself, wow, all right, what the hell, man? So I want to play this little clip here for you, and I'm hoping that you can see what I'm talking about here. Give me 1 second. I will get this thing going for you, fired up.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Oh, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just about what we choose to compromise. My personal opinion, and I know that my district and my community feels this way as well, is that we as a party have compromised too much, and we've lost too much of who we're supposed to be and who we are. And
the Democratic Party has lost.
I think so. I think we've compromised things that we shouldn't have compromised, whether it's judgeships with Mitch McConnell, whether it's compromising on climate change. I think there are some things that we've compromised a little bit too much on, but am I open to compromise on certain ways to get things done? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
So I let you hear that because I think it's important to hear. We're already talking about compromise. The first thing these people want to know when they talk to a progressive, are you ready to compromise? Are you ready to compromise? And look here, I want to bring up Bobby Havens. Unfortunately, it's not going to let me show it. But Bobby Havens, he's being really strong here. Ocasio-Cortez, just another boring centrist Bernie crap posing as a democratic socialist. On and on. I mean, and I see that and I say, wow, how many times have we seen people come through saying stupid shit like that? How many times? I can tell you right now, in my short time on this earth, and I'll be 50 in April, I have seen so few people, consistently articulate a progressive message, unequivocating like that, period. There's nothing centrist about her. Now, the difference is, and this is very important, when you have people that are actually in a position to cast a vote versus just sitting there throwing rocks at the TV, it's a little different, isn't it? So instead of sitting there chirping about people that are at a fire pit somewhere, got no electoral power whatsoever, the one person that actually is fucking fighting for us, that's right, one, maybe Ro Khanna, Tulsi. You finally got a few people with a bit of a spine who are taking and fighting for us. Now, remember this. We've got to convince, guys, this is the unfortunate thing about a democracy, sucky as it is. We got to convince a shit ton of milquetoast centrists to go along with a progressive agenda. It's not just that it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Shit, man, it's possible. I can show you in spades it's possible. But we got to get many, 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 many millions out of the 350 million in America. We got to get many, many millions, way more millions than we have that are edgy, that are saying, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is just another centrist. Okay? So we've got to get millions of people to agree so that we can actually win these stupid wars that we should be able to win easily if we didn't have so much propaganda and nonsense to weed through. But we do. We have metric ton of bullshit to weed through to save life number one. Life number one doesn't get saved until we are able to convince this soft middle milquetoast nonsense that our ideas are not only able to be paid for, because nation can't go broke, but that these ideas aren't crazy, that they're doable, they're achievable, and they're in everyone's best interest. And the only way you do that is you work with the people. You know what? Let's just say, hypothetically, we got 3 Greens elected. 3. Let's say 1 Green, because we don't have any now. Let's say we had 1 socialist, real socialist, one that this guy was like, yay, that's good, man. Let's get one of them in there, right? Well, now they got 534 other people they got to convince. Tell me about your negotiating skills for passing legislation. Or are you just admitting straight up you have no intention of passing any legislation? Be honest. Tell the truth. Tell the truth that you don't care if anything gets passed. Tell the truth. Be honest. It's okay. But just be for real, man. Be for real that you're not really interested in actual change. You just like being edgy. I'm telling you right now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for as soft and squishy as you think she is, which I don't see, but whatever, knock yourself out. She has got a mountain of people that she's got to climb through and climb over and convince to come along on this ride for a Green New Deal. And I'm telling you straight up, it's going to take all of our efforts, including yours, the naysayer, to get that much done. And unfortunately, there's going to be some people out there that are just too cool for it, man. They're going to be too cool for it. They're going to be so cool. They're not going to be able to, it's going to be like Fonzie, man. Hey, man. Hey. And that ain't going to get it done. I'm telling you, once you get outside of our little bubble and you go over there where they all believe that Bernie Sanders cost them the election, where they all believe that left-wingers are too pure and they want us out of their party. When you go over there and you start looking and you realize we got a lot of people to convince, all of a sudden all this too cool for school shit looks really stupid. But you got to venture out of your bubble to see it. And believe me, whenever I get an opportunity to talk amongst people that are different than myself, I realize how freaking tall the order is. So my hat's off to her. 29 years old, unapologetically fighting for this. That's more than any of us are doing. So I would hold my judgment until she proves that she's not stronger than all of us. Because I'm telling you right now, she's the first person next to Bernie that gave me any hope on the public stage. So keep your eyes open. Hold her to account. Don't let her get away with stuff. If she starts screwing up, hold her to it. But be honest. Know what you're up against. 350 million Americans, most of which don't give a crap about politics. If they didn't see it on Fox News, it didn't happen. That's the reality. If they didn't see it on Rachel Maddow, it didn't happen. There's only a hearty band of tens and hundreds and thousands, maybe, that know about the stuff that we're talking about. She, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has taken it to 60 Minutes. So now all of a sudden they're hearing this stuff for the first time. They're so, what is this, a frozen caveman? What is this? What is this thing called a democratic socialist? What is this thing? Does it breathe? You know, is it made of wax? What is this thing? They don't know. They're still trying to get over their red scare. They're still scared to death that it's a red scare. Oh my God, communists are coming. Oh my God. They're going to turn all of our kids. They're going to make them gay, communists, whatever's. I mean, for real. Have you been to rural America? Have you ever been to a place where people haven't heard anything beyond God, Jesus, and guns? I mean, this is what we're up against. If you want better, do better. Go out there and talk to them about it. Make sure they understand that socialists aren't all weirdos. Make sure that they know they're not trying to give them the gayness or whatever it is that they fear. And I'm serious. We have neglected them. We've taunted, we've teased them. We haven't explained how these things benefit them at all. And that's what we're up against. That's why Trump won. Because people thought they were so cool that they didn't bother talking. And we're paying a heavy price for that. And we're going to pay a heavy price for that going into 2022 if we don't take advantage of it now, beginning now, January 6th, 2019. I'm dead serious, man. I'm trying my best to make the case that we finally have some champions up there fighting for us. Are they perfect champions? I don't know. I actually have enough of a brain to know what's going on politically, to know how hard it is to even get them. You know, just think about this. When I tell you that federal taxes don't fund spending, do you want me to show you a barrage of screenshots from all the edgy lefties that swear to God I'm wrong? I'm serious. Now you're going to ask Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to be something, blah, blah, blah. Give me a break. Give me a break. I'm not an apologist for anybody, but I am telling you right now, to have a dream, you've got to get there. There's a transition. And folks, I'm telling you right now, we haven't done our job. Facebook clamped down. If they did, I was hitting 30 million people a month. We could have been plowing through. But Facebook choked off our reach way bad. YouTube has choked off a bunch of reach. All sorts of groups have choked off reach. So you're stuck. How do we get the word out? How do we make people understand? How do we teach these people that have never even heard of any of this stuff? And all you got to do is go, that's that damn communist stuff. And they're already done with you. No, just another milquetoast centrist Democrat. Stop. Just stop, man. Fonzie gave up his leather jacket a few years ago. He no longer does the comb. Just let it go, man. Put your members only jacket in mothballs. Put your Atari 2600 in the closet. Get you a Nintendo, man, an old school Nintendo, an NES or something, man. Put the old, Commodore 64 away. We got a real war on our hands. And I don't know how to tell you this other than to tell it to you straight. We need to find a way to penetrate that soft, milky middle. And we need to make this stuff not sound incredibly crazy. It's got to sound sane. It's got to sound legitimate. It's got to sound logical. We got to sell it. And that's just the unfortunate truth. The people on the left, we already know what we want. Man, I'm telling you right now, I want I want so much more than we're going to get. But I at least see progress being made. Real progress, not bullshit progress, real progress. It's up to us to not be too cool for school and force their hand. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end this broadcast momentarily. I want to do a couple things here real quick. Number one, I want to thank you all for riding with Real Progressives. I want to thank Jordan Chariton for having me on his show today. It was a blessing and a privilege to be on his show. They had about 500 people watching during my portion, which was, obviously a heck of a lot different than Facebook these days. It gets me 60, 70, maybe 80 people watching anymore, which I value and I thank you for. But to be fair, it was nice to have 500, and I want to thank you all who have been donating and supporting us, because we need donations, folks. We need help. We really, really need help to be able to beat these folks down. We got to have the money to make these things happen. This is not a cheap enterprise at all. All these services, all the work we're doing takes money, and we need help. But the other thing I want to say is this. As you go forward and you start thinking about what it is you want to do to make a difference, if you've got skills, if you've got something you can do to help, please check in with us. We need volunteers. We need help on the business side. We need accountants. We need people that can do marketing. We need folks that can do merchandising. We need folks that can help us with taxes and things like that. We need legal support. We need skilled position players with the video editing and platform production and IT people. We need all sorts of stuff. So we need people that can help us with fundraising, real legitimate fundraising. And we also need quality live streamers, people that can do the news, people that can produce quality reporting, people that can write, people that will write up the interviews that we do, people that will do all that. And we have lots of openings. So if you're willing, you have time, and you think you have any skill that you can provide, whether it be outreach, networking, whatever, helping us book guests, man, please, we need your help. And if you want to be a live from the street reporter, where you're going out there with your camera at these protests and different events around the country and around the world, let us know. We need people to cover these things from the streets. We miss that coverage. We need that coverage. We're looking for you. All right. With that, my name is Steve Grumbine. I am the founder of Real Progressives, and I hope you all have a great night. I'm out.